Monsters like VR2, this is Bogeyman Productions. Welcome to Viewer Takeover.
This is Viewer Takeover. We film every... Oh, wait, we're totally off. We're filming Friday night. Is that right? Friday night, we're bringing it to you
correct.
Saturday. This is our special Halloween episode, which will be followed by a special Halloween Gamescast Live. My name is Brian Paul from this channel, right here, PSVR Without Parole. And the guys to my right, the boys, Dave from Dave Station VR.
This is actually not only a Halloween special, it's a hurricane special because we didn't do it because there's a hurricane.
Wow.
AJ got hit by a hurricane.
Ruben Hurricane Carter. It hurt like hell.
Yes.
The story of the hurricane.
And that guy on the far right-hand side of the screen
another
is
Bob Dylan
AJ
sing-along.
from
The Underground, PSVR, Underground.
What's up, man? I am so glad to have electricity back. It's been a couple days, with using nothing but candles.
And every week on Viewer Takeover, we like to thank a whole lot of people. And the first person we want to thank, Bogeyman Productions, for that awesome Viewer Takeover Halloween-themed introduction.
He's quite prepared for a Halloween-themed introduction. it
Hell
appears.
yeah, it is, because
my
that's
God.
my dude, Bogeyman Productions. I loved his all the.
That's your dude. Can't we share? Can't we
No,
share the
he's
dude?
mine. My dude, because he's metal as
AJ
hell.
gets his dude.
Hands off the metal.
Okay.
He had
I'll
Evil
get a
Dead
dude
stuff.
eventually.
You know, honestly, if I considered Evil Dead 2 a horror movie, I would say it's my favorite horror movie, but it's not. But I saw Ash stuff. I saw the Necronomicon in there. I saw, even the intro noises he was doing. And I saw like an Army of Darkness thing. Also,
Well,
a great
AJ,
movie.
did you notice that he had an Evil Dead beanie?
I noticed like everything was
Because
Evil Dead.
I know
yeah.
you're a beanie guy. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, I know you're a
yeah.
beanie guy. So,
It's a good beanie, man.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Bogeyman Introductions. Nope. Thank you so much, Bogeyman Productions, for that awesome Viewer Takeover introduction. What? No?
They could start calling him Bogeyman Introductions now because of how good the introduction was.
Only if he sends us one every week.
Sure.
Right? If you want to send your Bogeyman introduction to us for next week's show, send it to withoutparole@gmail.com. Keep it short, keep it simple. You can keep it spooky, man, even though spooky season's almost over. But also, keep it southern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon.
The other
Don't
people,
tread on me.
the other people we want to thank are these people down here. These are the people who went to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Games.
And the other
Oh, wait,
ones-
that wasn't spooky enough. Game.
And they're the ones giving us $1 or more every single week because they love us almost as much as we love them. Thank you so very much. If you like what you see, please consider going to patreon.com/withoutparole games and supporting the channel. Before we dive in to the rest of the show and thank a whole lot more people and stuff, this past weekend, the reason why everything was sort of thrown off was because we did the Rec Room or GameCat meetup. A lot of it took place in Rec Room. The 2020 virtual GameCat meetup, unlike the 2019 one where we all actually got together here in Massachusetts, this one had to be virtual because of COVID and everything else going on. Dude, we had so much fun, didn't we?
Yeah, no, I mean, being virtual didn't make it any less cool. It was actually awesome to be able to get like everybody in there who wanted to be in there or could be over those 2 days and like just hopping around from room to room in Rec Room. Like when we got dodgeball, there were so many fun little moments that we all had together as a group. It was really, really cool. And everybody was awesome. Nobody came in and made a ruckus or anything. Everybody was really chill.
Except for one guy. One guy came in and made a ruckus, and that's clip of the week.
Did you see my last message?
Yeah, yes. I've just been super busy now. I gotta get send them out. And I
Release the Dargans. Oh man, that whole thing started with Skyrim. I used to play Skyrim, stream it like every Sunday, Skyrim Sundays or whatever. And man, what an amazing game! Like, especially if you have a pro and stuff, I cannot recommend Skyrim VR enough. I absolutely love that game. Best experience I ever had with it. Of course, I played it with PS3 the first time, so wasn't the best experience, but absolutely amazing in VR after the patch where they gave it like a pro patch later on and stuff. And I love writing Dargans.
Wow, yeah, you really went off on a tangent about PlayStation 3 and stuff, but you didn't actually tell
Explain
us where
how that happened in
Dargan's
Rec Room.
came from.
Joe Grover. Shout out
Effing
to
Game
Joe
Cat.
Grover.
We also want to thank another group of people, don't we, AJ?
We would like to thank those who changed their name and support us by doing that. You can change your name on YouTube, and when you do so, leave a comment that says #GameCat so we can find it easy and add you to this list. And this week, we have 6 new Game Cats to welcome to the Game Cat Dojo. Starting with all work and no play makes Jack a dull #GameCat.
Oh, hotcakes.
Yeah, I just saw The Shining on TV the other night. Spooky movie. What do you guys think?
It's a spooky movie for sure.
We've also got Cooter Critters, the Game Cat adjacent, as
He's
you
back again.
and
Cooter Critters
something
is back.
something Game Cat adjacent would like to say.
Hell yeah, man. I like that. We've got Game Cat extraordinaires. We've got Game Cat adjacents. This is all sorts of different sects of Game Cat.
Ooh.
And genders of Game Cat.
We've also got, oh man, welcome back.
AJ,
Everyone
he
standing
said
ovation.
sex, not sex with an X, just to be clear.
I'd like to
I
give
can
a
see you
standing
giggling.
welcome back Gabriel 004, the license to meow Game Cat.
You do have a
Meow,
license
meow,
to
meow,
meow.
meow, 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 meow.
Fantastic.
Oh, welcome back, dude. So good to have you back. Todd, the motherfucking Game Cat. Game Cat.
The Futher Muckin Came Gat.
Oh, sorry.
That's funny as hell.
That's
I'm
fun.
sorry,
That's
children.
Todd Guillot, man, our Facebook friend, man. He finally changed his name to Came Gat. I can't even say it. Came Gat.
Futher Muckin Came Gat.
Cat.
I love you, Todd.
We've also got very scary Terry, the baby gamer cat. Aw, bitch. You shouldn't have.
No one under 12. No one under 12 in the headset.
Very
No babies.
scary Terry, the baby gamer cat. I'm very scary for sure.
Scary Terry is a Rick and Morty character who's basically like Freddy Krueger. Finally, we've got LWM Quaid.
No,
That's
LW McQuaid. LW McQuaid.
The
Yeah.
cunning cat.
What's up, LW?
I totally butchered all of your names.
It's fine. It's fine. This whole show is off kilter. We did it like 5 days later than we're supposed to.
Yeah, no, I mean you can tell we're off schedule because it's just we're all a total mess right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
This
you.
is the Friday night viewer takeover that you get when you have to wait for a Friday night viewer takeover, and you know.
So let's ask you this: was it worth the wait? Thank you very much, everybody. Change your name to GameCat. Remember, as AJ said earlier, if you change your name to GameCat because you love us almost as much as we love you, make sure you put #GameCat in the comments below so we can give you a shout out on next week's show. But what we really do here is we scour the internet, we scour the Twitters, apparently, we scour the Discord also for the people who left us questions or comments with the #ViewerTakeover, all one word. And then we picked our favorite. We was like, who can we make fun of this week? And then we chose 3 of them, and we're about to read them and respond to them. First question coming to us from 97 Skynet on Discord. He writes, #ViewerTakeover. Hitman on PS5 will use backwards compatibility for VR. So will No Man's Sky. You will have to use an adapter and hardware to play, and Sony being very quiet. I think that's what he meant to say.
Yeah.
Seems less likely Resident Evil 8 or Gran Turismo 7 will have VR. Do you think an announcement is coming, or are there concerns that Sony might be moving away from VR? Side note, I do want to say that this comment, I think, was left like just hours before the Jim Ryan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the
And I assume
Washington
then
Post
also-
article.
Also before the Upload VR article that gave us some more info on that stuff. So I want to answer the second half of the question first, and this
Sure.
one's the easy part, which is there a concern Sony might be moving away from VR? I don't think that that's the concern. I think really the concern is that they're maybe dropping the ball for a year or two when they could be moving it forward. But then I think the PSVR2 is still a foregone conclusion. So I don't think, they're not moving away from VR, but they're taking an approach that isn't exactly what we wanted to see, which is the answer to the first part of the question.
Can we talk about why people think that that's the case? Because let's read. Can I read this quote?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so the quote that Jim. Let's be fair here. Jim Ryan was being interviewed about PlayStation 5 in the Washington Post. Is the Washington Post?
Yes.
Right?
And it's going to be paywalled, so you can't read the actual article, probably.
Oh, I've got it up if we need it.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I don't pay for the Washington Post, so that's really strange. And he was talking about PlayStation 5. I'm being asked about a lot of PlayStation 5 questions, whatever, and then was asked about VR. And his response was, quote, I think we're more than a few minutes from the future of VR. PlayStation believes in VR, Sony believes in VR, and we definitely believe at some point in the future, VR will represent a meaningful component of interactive entertainment. Will it be this year? No. Will it be next year? No. But will it come at some stage? We believe that, and we're very pleased with all the experience we've gained from PlayStation VR, and we look forward to seeing where that takes us in the future. At what point in this quote, end quote, what point in this quote do you think he is talking about PlayStation VR 2?
I think he's specifically not talking about PlayStation VR 2. Yeah. And that's been their angle the whole time. It's not really a new thing to say, like, hey, I can't tell you when it's coming, but it's coming.
Right. And so many people looked at this quote and immediately inferred that PlayStation VR 2 is not coming this year and it's not coming next year. That's immediately what they inferred. And I think I have a major problem with that because it's
a bit of a jump. It's a bit of a jump.
It's because, a huge jump.
Like, what he's talking about is the VR market. He's not talking about a PSVR 2. He said, is VR there yet as a major slice of entertainment media? And he said, no, it's not there this year. It's not there next year. But it wasn't there when they funded and released the PSVR 1 either, and they did it anyways.
It was even further away then.
Exactly. And so I think the understanding is that, it's there. They need to stay invested in it. And so whenever we see the thing, I think will be because they took their time to make it the way that they wanted to kind of make it a big leap forward, So,
see, I actually think it's totally different. I think that this quote refers to, he's talking again about the VR ecosystem and saying that, it's not going to get a big foot in the door now. It's not going to get a big foot in the door next year, maybe even the year after. But I do still think that he's saying we could release PlayStation VR 2 next year, as Mark Cerny first insinuated when they was talking about the PlayStation 5 a year ago. The Wall Street Journal article and that was the first mention of PSVR 2 ever, I believe. And that was almost about a year ago. And he said that PlayStation VR 2 coming, about a year after PlayStation 5. None of this to me changes any of that. I think it just shows that Sony is a very realistic company and says we're gonna put this product out. But we understand that it's not going to make this huge wave, that it's not going to make a huge difference. It's going to be very much like PlayStation VR 1 in terms that, like, it's the adoption is going to be pretty low. And we're okay with that for a couple of years until it takes off. I don't see anything here that says that they're not still following through with their PlayStation VR 2 plans.
He's definitely talking about VR as a whole, VR being successful and stuff. And yeah, when you compare 100 million headsets, I'm sorry, 100 million PS4s, over 100 million PS4s to the 5 million, and then throw in all headsets combined, and you're talking about 5 to 10 million headsets total. That is just pales in comparison as the total number of what they have gotten to as a games industry. And yeah, they want to be able to sell millions of copies of games like they did with Ghost of Tsushima, Final Fantasy VII Remake and stuff. And like, honestly, VR just needs time. Like, I don't disagree with him there. The problem is that you've built this fan base and you've built a lot of interest. You've already built you've got a lot of developers too that are interested in VR. So it's kind of, if there is a long period, which, by the way, I'm not 100% sold that it's going to be like years from now. But if there is like a waiting period, any waiting period is definitely a little unfair to the people that are ready for the new product and to developers who want to create stuff, for a new headset. And like, yeah, knowing them, they want to, at least what he's saying, they kind of sound like they want to go this route of, let's make this huge, like, take the gaming world over by storm kind of thing, when really they just need to treat VR as an extension for now and let it grow naturally and organically. It doesn't have to be this $500 device. It could just be a cheaper upgrade and use the PS5 with it.
So the part of this question that I want to hit on is this one sentence in the middle. It says, seems less likely RE8 or GT7 will have VR. Now, I don't think that means it's less likely that they'll have VR. I think it means it's less likely they'll have VR on PSVR 1. So think about Sony as a company, right? If you've got VR support for both of these games in your back pocket, when you launch a PSVR 2, that's a big value proposition to people. You say, hey, you already love this game. Day one, this headset, when you get it, will support RE8, GT7, throw a couple more games on top of there. And then you've got a launch lineup, even without having to release any new games. So I think to hold it back until PSVR 2 is ready would make the most sense for them as a company, probably. And that's what we'll see, I expect.
That's actually what I was originally going to say. Was Brian was kind of right about this in his original thoughts of they're drawing a line between the PSVR 1 headset and basically using it for backwards compatibility, because if they do RE8 VR, GT7 VR, they would rather release it alongside with like a PSVR 2 or a new headset. And that makes sense to me too, is making a clear separation of the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 headset versus having some issues. But that being said, they haven't done the best of job of being clear about things.
Yeah,
but
it's still confusing.
But they weren't completely clear about PS5 either, though. And that just, like, we learned about PS5 like so close to launch. It's crazy right now.
Yeah. I also think that, so I feel like Sony learned a hard lesson when it came to talking about VR and mixing that message with the hardcore audience of like mainstream gamers. I shouldn't say the hardcore audience, because I think the hardcore audience are the PlayStation VR gamers. And that came from the first state of play when it was very VR centric, and they got downvoted to hell on YouTube. They got tons of negative comments. They're like, "Oh, if this is what state of play is going to be, this isn't like E3 announcements. This is fucking ridiculous." Yeah. And so I think Sony like probably took that to heart and said, we need to focus on the mainstream audience, take care of them, get the PlayStation 5 launch, get it out there, and then send the message to VR gamers in a separate state of play, a separate video, whatever they're going to do in COVID times here. It's going to be different than the messaging during the PlayStation 5 launch. It's going to be something very separate, because that was a hard lesson for them to learn.
The timing of that event was pretty bad to make a switch, because you had just gotten rid of you had just gotten rid of E3, you had just gotten rid of PlayStation Experience, and then you say you're going to do this thing that kind of copies Nintendo Direct, and then you do an all VR. I mean, even as a VR fan, I could see that from a mile away, being like, probably not the best idea when all eyes are on you like that. And
and all eyes are on Sony again right now. So it's the same situation.
Yeah. I'm still pretty hopeful that RE8 and GT7 get VR at some point. I'm just hoping that it's kind of if or around launch. I'd like them to launch with it, which means that we would have to get another headset sooner than later.
The question is like, when is PlayStation VR 2 coming? And the fact that they're not doing any of this cross-gen stuff and actually allowing us to use our PlayStation 1 VR headset in any way, shape, or form with PlayStation 5 games, to me, means PlayStation VR 2 is coming relatively soon. I think that they want to have the headset out for the launch of Resident Evil 8, Gran Turismo 7. I don't think they want to go retroactively be like, oh, hey, these games that you've been enjoying, you can now play in VR. I think they want people's first experience of Resident Evil Village to be in VR, because we know how much more impactful that is. With Resident Evil 7 having launched after the PlayStation VR 1 launch, people who played Resident Evil 7 a few times and then played it in VR was like, yeah, this isn't that scary, because they already knew what to expect. I just had a conversation with somebody about that recently on Discord, and so giving somebody that first impression of Village in VR 2 is those are the kind of first impressions you want. You want somebody to be like scared out of their goddamn minds when they're making a YouTube video, a reaction video, that kind of thing. That sells headsets. That sells whatever the product is. When you watch people freak the fuck out, and I think that's going to sell a lot of PSVR 2 headsets when you see Resident Evil 8 in VR, people reacting to it for the first time. And so I'm still kind of at this point. I'm kind of thinking PSVR 2 is right around the corner. You know, is
Well,
it Q1 next year? Maybe not, but Q2, possibly.
I wouldn't think it's that soon, but I also want to throw in here that just because we don't have a new headset and you can only play PS4 games with the PSVR 1 on your PS5, I don't think that means that we'll stop seeing PS4 games that have VR support in the meantime.
Right.
Because people act like, oh, well, if they're not supporting it on the PS5, then we just won't get anything. There'll be a big drought.
Right.
But every console generation, there's like a year or two of overlap where they still want to sell PS4s. Like, they're going to be cheaper now that the PS5 is out. More people will get on the train late. A lot of people wait this long to get into a console generation. Yeah. And so for them, you know, it is still a new product. It's still a new thing. And if they can juice that for another year or two and get that mileage out of the PS4, they're going to try to. Absolutely.
This could be the best year, too. It's the last year or two of
you never know.
The console that overlap is always the best year. So we could have some really cool things on the way.
Well, we already know we got a couple really cool things. We know we've got Hitman. We've got Sniper Elite VR, After the Fall, Wraith Oblivion Afterlife. Mm-hmm. So we already know that we have like some good games. That's my most important thing, is just have the games to back it up. You know, we weren't expecting Squadrons earlier this year, and that turned out to be pretty amazing. And, you know, Dreams came out awesome. Saints and Sinners came out awesome. So this year overall has actually been really, really exciting for VR.
AJ, why don't you take us away with the next viewer takeover question?
Next question comes from Jordan Bainbridge at Battle Mode Bane on Twitter. You were born on Twitter. I was molded by it. Yo, I was thinking about this new DualSense controller and how the lap bar isn't the same at the top.
Don't give people accents.
Do we even know if can use it for VR games? Or are we gonna be stuck using a DualShock 4 instead? The PS5 camera isn't VR friendly, so is the controller? #viewer takeover.
Man. Well, you know, AJ, I was thinking.
Oh God,
I've been thinking, AJ. No. This is a pretty cut and dry one.
That's probably not what Jordan sounds like. I'm sorry.
No.
But that's how he's going to sound to me every time I read his comments now. Poor Battle Mode Bainbridge.
But we do know the answer to this one.
Yeah.
The PS4 controller, the DualShock 4, does not work with any PlayStation 5 games. Right. Also, the light bar on the DualShock 5, or the DualSense, I'm sorry, is not compatible with the PlayStation camera that we have already. But yeah, so we know the answer to this. Basically, you can't use the DualShock on a PS5 game. You can't use the DualSense on a PS4 game. Cut and dry. Bingo, bango.
Right. Again, another division that Sony is making between PSVR 1 and PSVR 2. All right, and Dave, the final question comes to us from
Young Indie. Oh, Young Indiana Jones 21. I get it. And this was left on the breaking news channel. Hashtag. You would take over. You want me to read the question, or you're just gonna have time?
So yeah, no, we're just gonna sing. We're not gonna do the question.
Yep. See you later, Indy. Thanks for asking a question.
Right.
Good night, everyone.
Well, I guess we should do the Halloween question, the horror question, because it is a Halloween episode, technically.
Okay, so he says, I feel like VR has too many horror games. Horror is kind of a niche genre, and being that VR is kind of a niche product, I just don't see how it makes sense to flood VR with games that lack wide appeal. I feel like Brian's got a good answer for this, but he's dying over there.
I can't tell if that's sarcasm.
Did you get tested recently for COVID?
That was actually real, but it was perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
You know what, Young Indie 21? You're niche, man. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what you are. Yo. No, but I want Brian to answer this one first, because I feel like he's got a big answer for this one.
I don't have a big answer, except for I totally disagree, because we actually haven't gotten, in the last 2 years, we've gotten so few horror games on PlayStation VR that like most of the great ones, most of the ones we talk about are from like the first 2.5 years. The last 2 years have been pretty bad. And honestly, I don't really see horror as a niche genre anymore. It's grown so much since we were kids. Like, I think when we were kids, it was pretty small, and like, it was just like, the strange weirdos liked horror. But now it's like, I mean, The Walking Dead went through like what, 9 seasons, and that's like one of the biggest TV shows of all time. And so if that didn't bring horror into like the mainstream, then nothing's going to. I think horror is huge now.
Well, yeah, the other thing too. Oh, go ahead, AJ.
This comment did not age too well, to be honest with you, when literally like one of the biggest games right now in VR is Phasmophobia.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's kind of tie into what I'm going to say too. Yeah. So with Phasmophobia, this is the thing that, so there's a reason developers make certain types of games, and that is a lot of the time to sell some copies of the game. You know what I mean? Certain things are exciting and popular for people, and games like Phasmophobia and like any scary game that you can have any influencer or streamer or anybody with a video platform show them playing that game, screaming with their friends, freaking the fuck out, and you've immediately got a hit on your hands. That's like the most popular videos on a lot of channels are like Five Nights at Freddy's videos or stuff like that, where you get that big reaction out of someone, because that is what makes for good YouTube, you know? And so people flock to games like that because they see it and they're like, that looks really fun. I want to try that.
Even just seeing some people like in the room freaking out, you know, remember all the pranks that people used to do to their parents and stuff.
Yeah, and I think so that there's a sort of like a built-in value proposition there to design a horror game, because you might be the one that everybody's playing and having fun with and screaming about on the internet. And then Phasmophobia is like number 2 on the Steam charts over all these other big games. It's crazy. So like, I mean, on top of that, VR is such an immersive medium that horror makes sense in a really unique way that it, you know, like it's so visceral that when you put yourself in that sort of situation, like, of course it's going to work better in VR. And so why not like experiment with that, explore that possibility, you know?
To me, it's not about horror. You bring as many good games as you possibly can. I don't care what genre it is, horror, rhythm games,
it's not wave shooters. Games. Keep your wave shooter.
Yeah, we've got enough wave shooters.
Yes. A good, if not great game. Yeah, it doesn't matter what genre it is. Give me all of them. I don't want more. I don't want more crappy horror games, but I'll take great ones.
You might notice as well that typically in our top 5, you know, lately they've been horror games. You know, Walking Dead maybe not a horror game as much as like a survival game, but you know, it's based on The Walking Dead, like you said. That's a popular horror franchise, and then RE7's always up in the running. And there aren't people in the audience being like, "That's too niche. Why would you?" Everyone's like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, those are the best games." So like, there is a consensus that even though they're like, you know, a niche genre, maybe if you think about games in general, the best VR games sometimes end up being horror games. Dread Halls is great, even though it's simple. You know, there's all kinds of stuff like that.
RE7 is technically one of the most successful VR games there is.
Oh,
it's the highest selling, even though it's a non-VR game as well, which is, you know, the majority of its sales. It still had like over 1 million something people play it in VR, and is like the highest. Isn't it like the highest selling Resident Evil game of all time?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Monster Hunter. I think Monster Hunter was Capcom's number 1 highest seller, but Resident Evil 7 was the highest thing. And everyone says, like you said, in the top 25 list and stuff, everyone's always. It's basically what game versus Resident Evil 7 every single top 25 list.
Yeah, but I mean, persistence is always on there too. We never leave persistence off. You know, there's quite a few horror games. Rush of Blood is always on there. Yeah, it might seem like it's flooded with horror games, but I think that's because the medium is uniquely tailored to be really good at horror games when they work properly. You know, when you do a couple
immersion, anything that is more effective with more immersion is going to benefit from VR.
All right, guys, you can tell we haven't been around each other for a while because we wanted to just talk all night. This is gonna be a total pain in the butt to edit.
Just leave it all in.
Yeah, I don't know about that. No. Even when you took a phone call? No. Just kidding.
Oh, and the part where you sang Indiana Jones over when I was trying to introduce the question and stuff.
Yeah.
We got to keep that part.
Oh, maybe that'll be the outro. Anyway, maybe this will be the outro because we're just rambling again. Listen, if you change your name to GameCat, put hashtag GameCat in the comments below and we'll give you a shout out on next week's show. If you have a viewer takeover introduction to send us, make sure you send it to withoutparole@gmail.com. Think about supporting us on patreon.com/withoutparole. For just $1 or more every month, because hopefully it's just $1 to you. Hopefully that's not too much, but it means the world to us. Of course, join our Discord. That link is in the description. That this conversation happens there 24/7. As always, subscribe to Dave at Dave Station VR. Subscribe to AJ at PSVR Underground. My name is Brian from here, PSVR Without Parole. This was Viewer Takeover, and we're out.
And like had nothing to do. I will say though, I do have a should we, and that is lighting the house with candles. They smell good.
Wrong show.
They smell good, and they provide this dim light that isn't like this super bright, efficient LEDs, and it was nice, man. Candles are a should we.
You still have 42 seconds left on the clock.
What you should do is you got to get some of these bulbs like I got here. Hold on. You can.
No, the whole point is no electricity.
No, I mean, I guess you're right. But you were saying that I think you were saying that candles are nice even when you have electricity, right? Wasn't that you kind of the gist?
I mean, I think I learned a valuable lesson without having electricity, but
soft candlelight.
But no, it was cool. I felt like I was in the 1800s in my cabin, like, settling in America, and it was nice.
And every week on Viewer Takeover, we like to thank a whole lot of people.